Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the December 2nd North Middlesex Council meeting. Once again, we are meeting electronically. I'll call this meeting to order. First item is a roll call, and I see everyone is here. Disclose your pecuniary interest. If you have any, please email them to the secretary, to Jackie. Minutes of the previous meetings. Any questions or business arising from the minutes? That is from November 18th. Seeing none, we need a mover for the minutes. Councillor Moyer, seconder. Councillor Nickel, all in favor? Carried. All right, do we just need a brief recess before we go into public?
Yeah.
All right, we'll just have a quick recess until we get things set up. Looks like we're ready to begin. Okay, at this time we have a notice of amendment of zoning of 34603 Richmond Street, Lucan Gardens. And I believe we do have our applicant here, Darren Bowman's there. Yeah, there you are. So Stephanie, if you'd like to begin.
Yep, so I'm just going to share my screen with you. And I'll begin. So the purpose and effect of this application is to amend the permitted use within the general agricultural exception A1-2 zone by deleting golf driving range and buildings and structures accessory as a permitted use and adding commercial greenhouse and buildings and structures accessory as a permitted use instead. And that's in order to recognize an existing commercial greenhouse operation and to facilitate a proposed expansion of the greenhouse operation, which you can see on the screen in front of you, the proposed location of the expansion. Lucan Country Gardens is an existing commercial greenhouse / landscaping operation that is seasonal in nature. The current owner purchased the lands in 2011 and has advised that the greenhouse operation was in existence prior to the time of purchase. The business grows annuals and perennial flowers on site, which make up about 85% of the plant products available within the existing greenhouses. Sources materials from other greenhouses or farms to sell, which makes up about 15% of the plant products, and offers a limited amount of non-plant items, such as bagged soils, bagged and bulk mulch, empty pots for gardening, and grass seed for purchase. And the products are sold directly on site or delivered to clients off-site. The applicant has advised that business is experiencing an increase in demand, and as such is requesting to construct a 990 square meter, or about 10,656 square feet greenhouse addition to accommodate additional product. So staff are of the opinion that recognizing the existing commercial greenhouse use on the subject lands through an amendment to a site-specific zoning is appropriate, as the use can be considered generally consistent with the definition and criteria of an agricultural use, given that growing plants is the primary use. Staff note that although the retail component of the existing greenhouse business may exceed what is considered to be a typical agricultural use, the proposed zone change to add commercial greenhouse as a permitted use and remove golf driving range as a permitted use will ensure a use that is more in line with the agricultural policies of the North Middlesex official plan. And it'll also prohibit the recreational use to be permitted in the future. And staff will be recommending, as part of the site-specific zoning, that the retail building be limited to its existing size in order to ensure that the retail use does not exceed beyond what is considered to be reasonable within an agricultural area. The County of Middlesex and North Middlesex official plan permit agricultural uses and agriculturally related uses. And as previously mentioned, the existing commercial greenhouse is predominantly considered to be an agricultural use. Although not specifically contemplated within the official plans, a retail component associated with a nursery, or in this case, a greenhouse operation, is not uncommon. And it's in staff's opinion that it does not offend the agricultural policies. As mentioned, Lucan Country Gardens has been in operation for several years and is located on a provincial road which is built to accommodate high traffic flow areas and larger vehicles, and the proposed expansion will not result in any loss to agricultural land in crop production. Staff are of the opinion that amending the A1-2 zone to remove golf driving range and adding commercial greenhouse as a permitted use brings the subject lands closer to conformity with the agricultural policies of the county and North Middlesex official plans than what is currently permitted. The subject lands contain two zone categories And within the North Middlesex zoning bylaw, it states that on properties where more than one zone category occurs, the zone lines essentially act as lot lines in terms of zoning standards and permitted uses. So in reviewing the application, staff identified that the interior yard setback and the existing and proposed addition of the greenhouse is 4.91 meters or 16 feet, whereas the minimum interior lot interior lot line setback requires 15 meters or 49 feet, and that the existing front yard setback is 18.4 meters or 60 feet, whereas the minimum front yard setback required is 20 meters or 66 feet. And so staff propose that these deficiencies be addressed through the site-specific zoning, and all other requirements of the parent A1 zone appear to be met. So the application was circulated in accordance to the requirements of the Planning Act, and we received the following comments. So the North Middlesex Chief Building Official had no comments on the application at this time. And at the time of writing the subject report, staff have received one written submission in regards to the application from a neighboring property. The neighbor indicated support for the expansion of the small business, but did have some questions in regards to the commercial aspect / zoning of the business. Staff have addressed the questions with the member of the public directly and advised that the current zoning / boundaries, being the A1 and A1-2 zone, are to remain the same, and that a commercial greenhouse, which has a retail component included within the definition, is being proposed to be added as a permitted use, and no commercial zoning is being added to the subject lands, and that any commercial uses that is beyond what's included within the definition of a commercial greenhouse would not be permitted without a subsequent Planning Act application. And so it is recommended that the application be granted. Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. At this time, I would ask the applicant, Darren Bowman, if you have anything you'd like to add, Darren?
Yeah, I do. I would like to thank the municipality for working along with us, actually doing what they can to work us through this process in such a timely manner. I would like to provide an update on this goes in our timeline. The reason for this addition was to facilitate the sudden significant increase in demand since COVID-19 in the spring, from establishing an online store for safe shopping to an increase in contracts from Canadian Tire Hobie stores. Since then, we've applied for the permit, but we have we've purchased the building. Supplies are on site. We are ready to do as soon as we get her. And our planting and production begins in February. And our window for completing this build in time is getting shorter. I spoke with the builder today, and he said that if we could begin building next week, that would be more suitable to be finished the project on time. And if we are not able to build by late next week or early the following, that we will be getting pushed down the list so that he can facilitate other projects that are ready to go. This was disheartening news to hear. We've been working as fast as we can with you guys, and given our situation, and we would really like to see this project be finished on time, considering the circumstances that we are in. That is all I have. Thanks for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Darren. Right now, Mike, is there any public online there to speak on this?
Through you, the mayor, no, there is not anybody.
Thanks, Mike. So I'll open it up for the council. Comments, questions from council? Councillor Hemming? Go ahead.
So if we okay this tonight, is that going to satisfy his ability to start next week?
Who would like to answer? Jonathan, you want to speak to that?
Through your worship, to Councillor Hemming, there's some limitations that we need to abide by. The one that's right in front of this application right now is the appeal period. Staff and I have been working with Darren on in the background. We have as many documents as we can have ready to be executed at the appropriate time, but the provincial policy statement governs that there's that's what's right in front of this application in terms of building permits. But I can take this conversation offline with our chief building official to discuss any opportunities, but we've had numerous discussions about this already.
Okay, thank you.
So you're going to work on that at the staff level and work with the applicant at the staff level. Is that correct?
We have been and
Yeah,
we'll
I know.
continue to do so.
Perfect. Do we can any other questions or comments? No, we have a recommendation in front of us. We need a mover. Councillor Moyer, Councillor Hemming is seconding it. All in favor? Carried. Jackie, would you like to?
Yes, so for the benefit of the applicant and any public, once the bylaw is considered later on the agenda, a notice of decision will follow that tomorrow, and there is a 20-day appeal period, and anyone wishing to be notified of the decision should provide a submission to me in writing so we can provide that to you.
All right. Thanks, Jackie. And Darren, I just want to say good luck with this. It's good to hear that you got new contracts and stuff, and wish you all the best in your business going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so our next, we have no delegations. Department reports, a verbal update from Animal Care Center renewal contract for the pound keeping and pickup services. And Jackie, I believe you're going to speak on that.
Thank you, Mayor Rob, and to the members of council. Just a quick verbal update. So if council will recall, at the 2 meetings ago, I brought forth a report, and the motion was to direct staff to negotiate another renewal contract with the Animal Care Center for our pound keeping requirements. And the direction also was to include a provision for wildlife, and in particular raccoons, which would be at the discretion of the municipality to call about that. There is a 3-year term with the proposed agreement, $5 minimum increase in the pickup for dogs. And as I mentioned, as well as the addition of the wildlife. And just a reminder to council again, with this contract, so if a dog was picked up running at large and claimed by the owner does pay for those expenses at the Animal Care Center. So the only time the municipality actually incurs costs is if the animal is not claimed and then subsequently put up for adoption. So pending any questions, the bylaw will be considered later this evening to authorize this agreement.
Okay, is there any questions from council on this at this time? No? Okay, we'll consider this a bylaw. Our next one is a verbal update, the Ellis Craig Medical Center renewal of lease agreement with Dr. Furtado and Dr. Wagner. And Mike, I believe you're doing that.
Yes, through your worship to members of council. This is a pretty straightforward renewal of the agreement. It is for both Dr. Norman Furtado and Dr. Michael Wagner. The period is for 2 years. Similar year over increase of rent as previous. Pretty straightforward. So it's good news that they are renewing the lease and moving forward there.
Questions from council? No questions? That one's going to be done through the bylaw as well then after. Verbal update, the Park Hill Lions Club, the goalpost renewal. And Mike, I believe you have that as well.
Yes, again, through your worship to members of council, this is another renewal of the lease for the Park Hill Lions for the use of the goalpost in the arena. Again, this is for 2 years. Similar terms as previous. This is also an encouraging agreement, as they had doubts about a year ago whether they would continue the renting and providing of bartending services for groups. So this is a good news one as well.
Any questions on that? No questions? Okay, that one will be through bylaw as well. The next one is the lifting temporary amendments to municipal fees and charges bylaw. And Tracy, our treasurer, is going to do that.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is in front of council seeking council's approval to remove the temporary financial relief measures that were put into place in April. In the report in April, we recommended that these relief measures stay in place until 45 days after the lifting of the state of emergency. But I don't think anybody realized we were going to be going on for this long. So the purpose is to have this lifted as of January 1st. And then we can start, when working on the budget process, we kind of know what numbers we're working for the budget. And also in looking at the revenues that have come in, we are at actually 55% of our taxes collected, whereas previously we'd be at 45% at this point. So I don't think that we're really struggling in the collecting of the tax area. So we're recommending that these financial relief measures are lifted January 1st, 2021. Are there any
Questions on that?
questions?
Yeah, questions? Councillor McClinchy.
Okay, so Jack or Tracy, with the different fees that's being charged, is there quite a few of them? Like for tax arrears, NSF checks, outstanding taxes, late payment charges for wastewater and water bills? Is there, do you know, can you answer that? Do you
Of what we've lost this year?
yeah.
It's around $98,000.
I just kind of have a problem with this because the thing is, COVID, we might go back into whatever, that if people have to shut down, like businesses and that. And with the increase in the new wastewater charges next year, I feel personally that we should give the public a break, at least for till this COVID is kind of settled and what have you, because Lord only knows what's going to happen after that, because you know, you gotta dig, people have to dig deeper all the time. So, and I'm not sure who it affects, but I think we should still keep not to enforce it in January 2021. That's my thought.
Okay, thank you. Other comments from council? Councillor Moyer.
Yeah, I agree with Councillor McClinch on this. I wondered if we should maybe extend it for another 3 months. It seems like we are in the middle of a second wave right now, and hopefully it's not going to get any worse. But I don't know whether another 3 months or 6 months would be what the proper length of time would be. See what other council thinks.
Other comments? Councillor Keogh, and then Deputy Mayor.
I agree with Councillor Moyer, and perhaps maybe we can look at this in March. Gives us 3 months.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Ellison, you had your hand up, and then Councillor Hemming.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Tracy, my question is for you, and by extending it 3 months, and you made reference to the budget as rationale for lifting it, what impact will it have on our finances or budget if we were to extend it for 3 months?
Well, like I said, we've lost quite a bit of revenue that we budgeted for in our 2020 budget, which ultimately affects the levy that we put on the taxes. I was just thinking that if we remove this provision as of January 1st, we would have a budget number that we could start with. Now, we can certainly budget for 3/4 of the year. It's not that big of a deal. I was just thinking that we really didn't seem to be having a problem with our collection of taxes. So I wasn't sure where council stood on that because we have actually not been collecting since April. So on late payments on water and sewer or any NSF charges or statements, any of those revenue that we depend on to offset the tax levy. So
Just as a follow-up to that, so with some of that COVID dollars from the government to offset the revenue losses, does that include losses from these penalties and interest rates that we'd normally collect?
that's pretty much what that money we got from the province is going to cover, is the loss of the revenues.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hemming? And then Councillor Nickel.
Yeah, I'd like to reiterate what the other councilors are saying too. Especially with the numbers going up the way they are, I think we'd be wise to wait another 3 months for sure.
Okay. Councillor Nickel?
Yeah, I think that what we maybe could look at is right now we're in yellow. If we could change it, if it increases up to orange in our area, I think at that point we should go at it. I'm agreeing with Tracy that as of January 1st, we should change it and wait and see what happens if we get into more COVID cases where businesses are closing doors and people are struggling. Then I believe we should readjust it at that point.
Okay. Any other comments from council? Councillor McClinchy.
If we review it and, okay, January 1st, we would waive it for 3 months. Could we then review it in 3 months to 6 months if it's still in that situation? Can the motion read to the fact that if it's not effective in 3 months, can we go to 6 months on this? Because we don't know where we're at on this here. And we don't know where the water rates are going to be either, sort of thing. So we can review it after 3 months, like we'd go 3 months and review it again for another 3 months.
Well, and that's council's choice. That's up to council to choose on that. I mean, our treasurer can make comment to that, but it is council's choice what you want to do.
Definitely.
Okay. Councillor Teal, you had a comment or question?
I did, and I guess I maybe just clarify what Councillor McGlinchey is saying. Councillor McGlinchey, are you thinking like 3 months now with the option of 3 more?
Yes.
Okay. If needed.
Right.
If needed. But we don't know where we're at. You know, next year could be, who knows? So, and that's not too far away.
Okay, Jonathan.
Through your worship, although I can respect what Councillor Keogh and McKellenchi are offering in terms of a 3 month and 3 month review, and the reason why you're seeing this today is we tied our rates and fees and penalties associated with our state of emergency to a 45-day, which has slid because of COVID. I think it's important that this topic comes back to council rather than it arbitrarily being an option for it coming back. And I putting my clerk hat on here and I can see our clerk doing the same thing. Who holds the authority for that coming back? I think this is one that we just earmark and set a deadline, and then you give staff direction again. That's what we're seeking here tonight, is direction on removing it with the state of emergency and what we do internally. So I would advise against the authority of who gets to choose that scale or the next 3 month rollover.
You're just saying put a hard date on it, whether it's the end of March or whatever.
Do you give council or you give staff direction to have it come back in a meeting in March, and then we can evaluate then, and then you can give us direction again and say it's not the right time again, let's move it.
Okay. Councillor McClinchy.
Oh, okay, I agree with that. Like we would go for 3 months, and then with the direction of staff, they can come back and review it, and we make a decision then. So is that how the motion would read then?
Well, just a minute. Let Tracy comment to this. All right, Doreen?
I just wanted to comment that if we decided to come out of the state of emergency this week, then the fees and the late charges and penalties and everything would start being charged 45 days after that anyways, because it is tied to the state of emergency, as Jonathan and Jackie have said. So it's not just you guys can say, let's visit in 30 days. It's tied to that state of emergency. So I just wanted to just clarify that. So.
I'm kind of confused there. So this whole waiving the charges, it's tied to the state of emergency. Why is the province still not in a state of emergency? And you're saying they're going to come out in a week's time?
It's tied to our state of emergency, North
Oh,
Middlesex.
our state, okay.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah, it's tied to our state. So
Can that be amended, or can that be whatever? Rescind or amended, or how does that work?
it's whether we lift our state of, let it lapse or lift it, or the province has already got it covered with the state of emergency. It's province wide. Jackie,
Okay.
would you like to speak to that?
Yeah.
So just for clarification, the province, to my understanding, has lifted the state of emergency. So the state of emergency is still in effect for the county of Middlesex as well as North Middlesex. So the motion that council passed back in April is still valid because the state of emergency is still in effect. So if council's feeling that by the presentation of this report with an effective date of January 1st, if council is not comfortable with that January 1st date, then there's a couple options. You could put a motion forth in that it take effect in March 1st, or you can defer the report in its entirety and reconsider it in March. So potentially, I'm looking at the second meeting in March is March 17th. So if there was a motion from council that this report be deferred, the penalty waiving on taxes and water would still be in place. It's just that this report would come back for council consideration at a meeting in March. It could be the March 3rd meeting. It could be the March 17th, whatever council feels is appropriate.
Okay, thank you. I'll just make one comment. That is, our treasurer did point out that we are not seeing a rise in unpaid bills, or correct, Tracy, through this time.
Right.
It's actually been a little better than the year before.
Yeah.
And so I'm actually thinking that we should lift it January 1st, but that's just my own personal comment. So we need a motion on the floor. There's a recommendation here to do that. If you don't want to do that, we can actually vote on the recommendation first, I would think, right? We'll vote on the recommendation, and then if it passes, that's it. And if it doesn't pass, then we'd be looking for a motion. So in favor of the recommendation, and that is for January 1st to lift it, in favor?
So
Opposed? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
we need a mover and a seconder before the
For that
motion
motion,
could be
okay.
considered.
Moved by the motion, Councillor Nickel, Deputy Mayor Cornelison. All in favor? 3 opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed. Okay, so that doesn't pass. So we are looking for a motion from council. Councillor Moyer.
I'd make the motion to defer this till the March 17th meeting.
I'll second that.
Oh, Jackie,
Jackie, go ahead.
So the report has been defeated. So if council wishes to have this, I would just ask the motion maybe be considered that staff bring another report back in March to further evaluate the situation at that time.
okay.
All right, that is a motion. Gord, you're good with that?
Yes, yeah.
That's the motion by Councillor Moyer and seconded by Councillor McClinchy.
Mhm.
In favor? In favor of that? 1, 2, 3, 4. Opposed? 3. So it does carry. It carries. All right, so moving on. It is establishing the regulating bylaw for North Middlesex Fire Department. Fire Chief, Greg.
Worship, members of council, you have in front of you a report recommending we update our establishing and regulating bylaw. Our current bylaw was passed in 2001, shortly after amalgamation. It was a very generic bylaw, not specific to North Middlesex. We've updated it. We've taken out references to bodies in our municipality that don't exist. We've eliminated some references to practices that aren't being carried out, and we've included include references to our fire service, establishing our levels of service. That's very, very straightforward. It was reviewed by the fire committee in our meeting in November, and was brought forward tonight. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
Questions, comments from council? Deputy Mayor Ellison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Chief Glenn, I'm a little surprised that that you're recommending another deputy fire chief. I know that a while back that seemed to cause, or seemed to be some tendency to be a little top heavy there. What's the benefit, or what's the purpose of having a deputy fire chief when we have district chiefs in each station?
So the role of the deputy chief is administrative. As I am working part-time, the deputy chief that we have has other skills, and he is able to do up to 8 hours a week, depending on projects that have been assigned to him that fit his skill set, allowing me to focus on skills in my wheelhouse.
Okay, I'm not really sure I understood that. I think, what about the station chiefs then? Do they not have the skills that are necessary?
So, as you probably know, most of our dual roles. So the deputy chief, for instance, in this situation of COVID, had previously had the basic emergency management training, which I have not been able to get because everything was shut down due to COVID. One of his projects will be to do the municipality's year-end emergency management report. He coordinated the Elsa Craig Rescue Committee, which would have been chaired by the fire chief. But Deputy Chief Jones has an expertise in trucks that I do not have. So it seemed that it was better to have him deal with those things than me to try and learn those skills, and allowed me to focus on bigger pictures.
The other question I have is the administrative assistant. Do we not currently have one in the fire department?
Yes, we're just putting it in the organizational chart.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, there's no increase of staff or anything on that. You're just putting it in the chart.
Okay.
Right. Do we have a cost figure, if there's a cost, what that would be by changing this? Any changes to this? Is there a cost impact to this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
No.
I wanted to clarify that for people, that's all. Any other questions from council? No questions? We have a recommendation in front of us. Looking for a mover, Councillor Nickel, seconded by Councillor Keogh. In favor? Carried. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
You have another one, the donation of surplus fire apparatus.
Yes, sir. Your worship, members of council, as you know, we have taken delivery of our new rescue in Park Hill. The old ambulance that we had been using as a light rescue can now be declared surplus. The Elsa Craig and District Food Bank contacted me asking if anybody, what was going to happen to it. My recommendation is that because we don't know what the value of it would be at auction, but it is a 21, 22-year-old vehicle, we donate it to the Elsa Craig Food Bank so that they can use it to continue to serve the residents of North Middlesex as they have been for 25 plus years.
So, Greg, can you just add into your report that about the condition of the vehicle, those type of things, that they're getting a
Yes,
they're getting?
yes, absolutely. So I spoke with the mechanic. I was hoping to have it safetied today. They've been down some personnel at the shop this week, so they weren't able to finish it, but I did talk to them. They last safetied it in May of this year. There was nothing major. They do have it at the shop today. They're going to check the brake line, everything that gets done in a safety, but they assure me that back in May, and we haven't put a lot of miles on it since then, there's no concerns that they have. There's nothing that they were keeping an eye on.
Okay. And what did we pay for it, Greg, 2 years ago?
We paid $2,620.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McClinchy.
So what the recommendation is to donate that to the Upscraig and Area Food Bank. So if anything happened to that vehicle a year from now, it would be at their expense, or how does that work?
Yes, we're going to give it to them. It becomes theirs. We'll transfer the ownership to them, and
so then it's theirs. If they have problems with it, they have to.
But we're not anticipating any problems. The mechanics have assured me that we're not giving them a problem.
Okay.
Councillor Keel.
Thank you. That will be an exchange of $1, right? To just solidify the deal.
Can I speak to that?
Yes,
please do.
So the way something like this works, it's called a donation in kind.
Mhm.
So we will sell them the vehicle for whatever we think it's worth.
Okay.
And then we just give them back their check. So on our books, we record that we sold it, and then we record that council donated it to them. So it will actually go through our books at market value, whatever, Greg, I'm not sure what it's worth. But anyways, it's not even really $1. It's a straight in and out basically, but it's has to go through our books. So.
All right. Other questions from council? No other questions? We have a recommendation in front of us. What's council's wish? Councillor Nicol, moving by Councillor Nicol, seconded by Councillor McClinchy. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
We have one more report, and that is the tender result for the Campbell and Watson drain, and that is Jonathan Lampman.
Through the mayor, the report you have in front of you tonight, council, is a recommendation to receive the report and direct staff to award the construction of the Campbell and Watson drains to JLH Excavating in the amount of $88,775.75. The report's in front of you. If you have any questions, comments, I'd be happy to answer them.
Questions? Deputy Mayor Cornelison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Jonathan, I have a couple of questions. It makes reference to allowances, miscellaneous, contingency, engineering, et cetera, et cetera. Is that all included in this 88,000?
No. So the bids received are as follows, not including HST, so less the stipulated miscellaneous contingency, right? So the engineer's estimate was 172. Construction bid came in at 88.
So the contingency, is that going to be the other 90,000 then?
No, it doesn't make up 90,000. It's contingency is usually 5 to 10 grand. ABCA is allowance. They put allowances 10 to 15. Engineering will be around 10. And then a little bit more for tendering in that.
Okay, I'm just surprised that there's almost like a $200,000 discrepancy between the highest and the lowest. That's fairly significant.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of pricing out of McNally yet. They just started looking at it. They requested to take a crack at the job. They could be busy, right? They could just be, there could be a number of reasons why their number was that high.
Okay, thank you.
That does seem to be the case with drains, doesn't it, Jonathan? How much work they have in front of them.
Oh yeah, for sure. And all drainage contractors are very busy. I will say that JLH is consistently competitive for the municipality when it comes to open ditch type drainage.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for Jonathan? No other questions? We have a recommendation in front of us. Councillor Keough, Councillor Hemming, all in favor? Carried. Thanks, Jonathan. Passing of accounts. Tracy.
Thank you, Your Worship. This report is recommending the payment of the bills and accounts in the amount of $2,628,363.69. And just want to bring to council's attention that the school board payments are both September and December's payment. If you remember that the school boards waived or deferred their payment in June till September, so now we have to pay September and December's for year ends.
Okay, questions from council? Deputy Mayor Cornelison.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. I have a couple of questions, and I think they're probably both for our CEO, Jonathan Graham, if I may. And the first one is the town line agreement with Adelaide Metcalf. Is that just a regular maintenance of that road that we share?
Through your worship, members of council, it is a shared service arrangement with a boundary road. It is inclusive a little bit more than just the Townsend line.
Because the town line's a county road, is it not?
You are correct. It's just been labeled that. It scratched my head the first time I saw it as well too, but it is not for the Townsend line. It's for other boundary roads that we share with Adelaide.
Very well. My second question for you as well, Jonathan, I believe, is the Dillon Consulting for building conditional assessment. Was there some buildings that we had assessed?
Through your worship, yes, there is. This is for the facilities building assessment, where we had, as you probably recall, we had an arrangement with Gardner to do our roofs. This was actually for the mechanical components of many of our facilities, including the municipal office as well. Mike can certainly jump in here to add like a roll call of the entire list of what we undertook, if you remember.
It is all recreational facilities and the municipal office. I think we had a little discussion about it earlier on the week, Adrian, but yes, that's the work being done to determine structural and all types of components of the building. So,
okay, thank you.
Other questions on the bills, on our accounts? No other questions? Read a motion. Councillor McClinchy, seconded by Councillor Moyer. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Tracy. Committee reports, Lake Huron Pipeline Water, anything?
Yeah, we have a meeting tomorrow, a Zoom meeting. That's it.
Okay, tomorrow. ABCA?
Yes, just the usual, Mayor Rob, as you know, a lot of discussion on lakeshore protection, of course. There's a lot of discussion, I think it's coming up later in our agenda about the support for the conservation authorities regarding the new policies that the Ontario government want to bring forward.
Okay. Any questions for Adrian? Hearing none. Blue water, anything, Doreen? You're muted, Doreen.
I just submitted to Jackie the notes, the November meeting notes for your information.
Okay, thank you. EDAC, Councillor Moyer. I know you've had your meeting, but minutes will be coming for next meeting probably, right? Okay, local school advisory, anything there? Deputy Mayor Cornelison, go ahead.
It's not to do with our local school advisory committee, Mayor Rob, but it is to do with the Rural Education Task Force. Okay. And Mike, I'm not sure if you got a copy of the email from Richard Hoffman from the Thames Valley School Board for the thought exchange and the link to that. I didn't know if I haven't seen it on our social media yet.
No, I don't have any information on thought exchange. If you could email that to me, I can get it out immediately though.
I will send that forward to you. I did put it on my link and it's been looked at a number of times, but I'll certainly forward it to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Recreation Committee, water, wastewater, policies. We met last week. There'll be some policies, I think, for the next meeting, I believe, if I have it right, yes? Fire committee?
A
Anything
meeting tomorrow night.
tomorrow night? Excellent. Budget committee, we have met once on the capital budget. We are meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. John and I both have it on our calendars. We're there.
On my hand.
Aqua, anything there, Jonathan? Community Development Fund Committee, anything, Jackie, on that? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. So our deadline has come and there are submissions. And in addition to, we also have the organizations that will be having rollovers from 2020 because they were unable to have their event. So I will be coordinating a list and the committee will be looking at that in the new year.
Okay, thanks, Jackie. Joint Building Committee, our meeting that was scheduled is canceled for this week, correct, Jonathan? So nothing on that. I think that's it. Correspondence. The first one was the ABCA, consideration of motion support regarding proposed changes to the Conservation Authorities Act. Would you like to speak on this first, Adrian?
Well, yeah, I would. I think there are some changes coming forward that are going to have an impact on the Conservation Authority's ability to continue to function as they currently do. Now, the changes, I attended or participated in that webinar a couple of weeks ago, and some of the municipalities have some concerns, particularly around the planning aspect of it and how if developers will be able to run roughshod over some sensitive areas. And of course, we're not sure about that. But bigger concern for me, of course, is that the core mandate, as the province alludes to, for the Conservation Authority, but they've not been identified. So I don't really know where that's going to go. So, and the other part of that too, and this is kind of, and Mayor Ropp, as you may remember, as a former member of the board, in my role as a board member, my responsibility is to support the organization. However, the province with the changes is recommending that municipal representatives, and they all have to be municipal representatives, that their mandate would be to represent their municipality as opposed to the Conservation Authority. So it's a bit twisted there, and we're not really clear where that stands. And based on that, I think I'll leave it up to my colleagues on council to determine what they want to do with supporting the Conservation Authority.
Adrian, I do have one question for you just before let the others, and that is, you know, if you listen to their intent, it's to cut red tape, to shorten the process for development. Yes. And that type of stuff. The conservation authorities are trying to tell us that it's actually going to lengthen it. So again, you know, where's the balance in that, or where's the reality in that? And I don't know who has answer to that can help with that.
Well, interesting enough, Mayor Ropp, but that was my question on the webinar. Yeah. Is how would the planning process, the permitting process be expedited, given that, as we all heard from the general manager of the Solomon Bayfield Conservation Authority, that currently, once the application is completed, it's about a 2 to 3 week turnaround. The response I got from the ministry representative was that it's in the slide presentation. I personally didn't see it. I don't know. It didn't define how it would be expedited. The appeal process is going to be longer from the looks of it. So I can't answer that question. I don't know.
Okay. I don't know. Is staff got any? Go ahead. Councillor Moyer, go ahead.
I guess just a couple comments. I guess I think the Conservation Authority is obviously putting across some arguments. It's their livelihood, it's their jobs that they're trying to protect. I think it's a little insulting, I think, to municipal councils to think that we can't, or we will ignore conservation in our own areas. I think we all want to protect our own areas. Red tape, I think it would cut down on some red tape. Some of the recommendations, I know of 3 or 4 cases in McGillivray that was months before we were able to get building permits through and for people to proceed with the projects. I know other ones have gone smoothly as well. But and then on Andrew's other part, I think whatever council we're on, I think we should be representing North Middlesex first of all. I think we should be looking after the I guess the rights and the needs of North Middlesex before we're thinking of the outlying areas. So I would like to see some of this process continue and go on through, and you know, maybe nothing will come of it at all, but I just think that the conservation authorities they have nobody to answer to right now. They're on their own, and we have no say, really.
Agreed. Other comments from council? Councilor McClinchy?
North Middlesex, we pay quite a amount to the levy, do we not, every year?
What's
'Cause
the
we
amount,
have-
Tracy?
we have a
Tracy, can you give us that amount, please?
It's around 157,000, I believe, for
That
going
is-
into 2021.
Yes.
Thank you. Go ahead, Doreen. Sorry for interrupting.
I just thought, because we pay such a big amount and it really involves us because of the area. And then when people make applications, like Adrian said, it's always like, it's a waiting period, or a long waiting period. They don't seem to be really expedient on those applications sometimes, unless it's not completely complete, like the applications. Yeah, we pay our share compared to anybody else because of our location. And I think it should be represented in our municipality.
Okay, thanks, Doreen. Deputy Mayor, go ahead, Adrian.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Doreen, just to address that, the levy that we pay, as you will recall, when Brian Horner, the general manager, attended our council meeting, I asked the question if our levy was completely assigned to North Middlesex, or did some of that go towards shoreline protection and whatnot? And as you will recall, he identified and shared with us that, in fact, a good deal of that does go to shoreline protection, which we don't have any. And I know that that's a frustrating experience for myself, because as Councillor Moore has talked about it, I think at that meeting as well, was our conservation authorities and the trails they're in are not accessible. And yet, we pay this levy. And I know I brought it up in the past meetings, and I'm sure that Mayor Robb did previously. Why can some of our levy not go to some of that trail maintenance or enhancement for our residents, for our community? But apparently, as he identified with Councilor Moore, is that it has to be a volunteer and a partnership, et cetera, it's over and above our levy. So that's of concern to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Other comments from council? Not seeing any right now. I just want to make comment to your comments, Councillor Moyer, that right now I do agree. I'd like to see some changes in the Conservation Authority. And if we just support them, they're asking for nothing to change. They're asking for no change. And I would like to see this process go farther. I'm not sure what we'd be supporting right now. And I would like to know their core mandates, their core services, that before we commit ourselves. That's my feeling. So any other comments from council? Deputy Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, or Mayor Robb, sorry. I believe that the best approach then would be to receive this this notice. So would it not, Jackie?
That would be my consideration for council as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, receive and file. Okay, it was good to have a discussion on it, though. I'm glad to hear what comments are. The next one is the Ontario Command Request for Advertising Support Military Service Recognition book. Past support has been a quarter page, right? Full color, $570. Would you like to speak on that, Jackie? I think you've been.
Sure. So as council will recall that you have supported through this avenue for a few years now. I have been talking to them and they do recognize that this year could be budget constraints, and they certainly understand that. I provided all the options for council as far as pricing. So I just put what past support has been, but that in no way means that's what council has to consider. Or simply they, may wish to not participate this year just due to certain budget constraints as well. So I'll completely leave that to council's discretion.
Thoughts, Councillor Hemming?
Yeah, I'd like to see us continue the support in that. It's a good cause.
Are you making that a motion?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll
Is there a seconder for that? Counselor Keough? You're seconding. Is there questions on it, comments on it? Jackie, go ahead.
So I just want a clarification. Is that to support the 570 full color ad as in the past?
Counselor Hemming?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Other comments on this? In favor? All in favor? Carried. Carried. Thank you. Next one is the Township of Hawick. Consideration for motion support regarding the tile drain loan program. Deputy Mayor, and then Councillor Keough.
Thank you, Mayor Rob. My question is for Jonathan Lattman, our drainage person. Jonathan, I'd like to get your opinion on that. It seemed like I'm surprised that the amount of loan available was relatively low given today's standard of tiling. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, I was just trying to find the report on our website just as we were speaking, and I couldn't find it. What is the amount, Deputy Mayor?
I believe it's 50,000 currently. I'm just pulling it up now, so my computer's a little slow here. And I think they wanted to increase that to 100,000. They wanted to reduce the interest rate, as I recall, from 6% to 4%, I believe.
Sounds very reasonable to me. I mean, people are tiling at half the distance they used to, and interest rates are rock bottom compared to what they were when this was initiated. It makes sense.
Okay. Okay.
Councillor Keough, you had your hand up?
I just wanted to support that,
Okay, you're making a motion to support it.
please.
Yeah.
Seconder, Deputy Mayor Cornelison, is there more discussion on it? In favor? In favor, all in favor, carried. Thank you. Other and urgent business, we do have one listed. That is the attendance at the annual community planning and facility collaboration opportunities at Thames Valley School Board meeting, December 17th. There need to know by December 4th who can go, who'd like to go. Do we have some people on council that are going to that?
Is it not virtual?
Yes.
Yeah, it's virtual, but I should say attending, not going to it. Councillor Nicol.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to attend that, but I do encourage anyone on council that can. I think it's going to be very informative, and I think that it would be nice for us to have a voice as well to support our local schools.
I would like to be able to attend, but I'm going to be working in the store, so I can't make any promises.
Okay. Deputy Mayor, you had your hand up?
Yes, since I'm currently involved with the school board, I'll probably will attend anyway.
Okay.
And I don't know if anyone else is interested, but yeah.
Okay, I hope to. It depends on the time and stuff. I do have another meeting that day, but I would put my name in for that as well. All right. Other business, Jackie, go ahead.
Mayor, so I just want to be clear, is council going to be registering themselves for this if I send the link, or you've got access to the link that you can?
Could you send me the link, please?
I can. Yep.
And Adrian as well. And maybe to Councillor McClinchy, because she said she doesn't know if she can or not.
Okay, I'll do that tomorrow.
Perfect. Is anyone else? Look, no, that's it, by the look of it. Other business or other business? I have a couple of items. One is to have a visioning session for council and the appropriate staff for that. And that would be in the new year. I've talked with our clerk and with our CAO on this. And so what I would ask council, if you have items you want to discuss at this, to send it in to our clerk, because it does have to be, that agenda does have to be posted. And so if you have suggestions, things you want to discuss, things you want on the agenda, please let her know as soon as possible, all right? Okay, Jackie, go ahead.
So what I can do is between Jonathan and myself, we can formulate a email and send that out to council, and they can respond to that.
Okay, perfect. Perfect, thank you. My second one is, and I don't mean to come in from the back door on this, Mike, but the second one is, I saw that, I think it's Ilderton were they, in November, they put up flags of veterans that served from the community. And they put the flags up for the month of November or until after Remembrance Day for whatever the appropriate time is. And I thought that was great. And I think the way to do it is to have families, submit the names rather than us try to come up with names. In both of our communities, we have flag stands in Park Hill and Elsa Craig, and I think it'd be great to recognize some of our veterans and have that. I love that program. I don't know, Mike, could you speak a little what you think, or you've seen that or been involved with it?
Through your worship, I have seen it in a few communities, and it is fantastic. I actually have a family member in Brigden represented. So yes, I can definitely look into the process and what's involved in funding and cost and bring back something to council for endorsement.
Okay. What does council think about that idea going forward? I guess I'd like to, just nod of the head if you think it's yeah, good.
Yeah,
all right.
for sure.
If you don't mind, Mike, if we could look into that. Didn't mean to bring it up without mentioning it to you first, but
not a problem.
I was thinking about it the other day and I said, boy, that's a great program. So that's all I have. Any other business from council? Jackie, go ahead.
I'm not sure. I hope your agenda shows an item 2 under other for investing in Canada's infrastructure program.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Sorry. Investing in infrastructure program, COVID-19 resilience stream. And Tracy, you're going to speak on this.
Through your worship,
Jonathan, do you want to go ahead?
Jump
Jonathan
in.
is okay.
If we can actually just ignore that other urgent business item, and the reason for that is that this ICIP program has been moving very fastly, and we need to be nimble for our program. And this is directly related to COVID relief funding. One of the garages, we were considering improvements to the McGillivray garage, but as we've been moving through the last week, we found out we don't necessarily need council's motion to proceed with the application, but we need to go through a seminar, I believe early or late this week.
Tomorrow
To really figure out what we can apply for. And we don't want that motion to be on the books and then find out we can't apply. And the deadline is very short as well.
Okay, so we're just tabling this for now?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's the funding is 100,000. That's it. That's all we're going to get. That's why we picked the McGillivray garage to get a lunchroom for the guys so they can actually eat, not in the room with the trucks, so they can spread out a bit. It kind of falls in line with the COVID stream. But once I sit through the seminar tomorrow, I'll know better if that's. I'm pretty sure that's going to be, we'll be fine with that job, but anyways.
Okay. All right. We'll just table this until you bring it back.
It may not even need to come back through your worship. We're just finding out more information as we move along.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Any other business? Council, any other business? No? Okay. You see the deferred items in front of you. Communications, County of Middlesex. Adrian?
Oh, thank you, Mayor Rob. Well, I don't know if members of council and staff have heard, but our warden, Kathy Jessup, Burkhart Jessup, is our warden again for another year. She ran unopposed, and we're all very pleased to have her return. She's done an amazing job given the challenges of the year. And given her expertise in that area and all the skills that she's gained, it was certainly a good idea that she continue in that role. I don't think there's anything else of significance, Mayor Ropp, I don't believe.
No, there isn't right now. I agree. And I think all of council, just to add to that, Adrian, all of council felt that with COVID kind of in the midst of it, for a new person to come in and have to catch up, to keep some continuity in there. And she has done a very good job at it, and she'll continue to do that. So,
yep.
Any questions for the county from council? Seeing none, there's no closed session, so reading of the bylaws.
Bylaw 87 is referring to the previous approval for the zoning bylaw amendment for 34603 Richmond Street. Bylaw 88 is the appointment of the external auditor services that council approved from the last meeting. Bylaw 89 is the execution of the agreement with the Animal Care Center. Bylaw 90 is the execution of the agreement with Dr. Furtado and Dr. Wagner. Bylaw 91 is the lease agreement with the Park Hill Lions Club for the goalpost. Bylaw 92 is to establish and regulate the North Middlesex Fire Department. Bylaw 93 is the confirming bylaw, and we're looking for first and second readings.
First, second, Councillor McClinchy, Councillor Nichol, all in favor? Carried.
And third and final.
Third and final, Councillor Moyer, Councillor Hemming, all in favor? Carried. Just one thing left, adjournment. Councillor McClinchy already has her hand up. Councillor Keough, all in favor? Carried. Have a good evening, everyone. Just one more meeting before